Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate, we inspire, and we definitely educate you. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited for our guest today. Man, I tell you, this gentleman brings a lot of knowledge in the financial business when it comes to money, when it comes to just really shifting your mind. I think so many of us, we need to change that relationship that we have with our finances, with money, the green stuff. So let's welcome to the show, Mr. Dwight. Hey, good morning, Dwight. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Daniel, what's going on? I was blessed to wake up.
The crowd goes wild. Yeah. Woo! Come on. Hey, Dwight, man, I tell you what, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for many years already. You bring a lot of savvy. I know who you are, my brother, but do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, please.
Sure. Where do you want me to start? Do you want me to start just from business on, or
just
do you
a short bio, just to introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show?
No problem. I'm a single father of 5 kids. They're all adults now. I have 4 grandbabies, 1 more grandbaby on the way. I've been in a financial coaching lifestyle business for this is my 20th year. Been helping families learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. Why? Well, because I was one of those people that was living in a life of quiet desperation, not sure how I was going to pay the bills the next day, afraid to log on to my bank account and see a zero and hoping it wouldn't be less than a zero. So I ended up getting into finance and been doing that. Like I said, this is my 20th year, so that I can impact people's lives so they don't have to go to sleep and wonder whether or not they can pay the bills, or can they ever retire? Can they ever go on a vacation? Can they send their kids to summer camp? Can they, send them to school? There's so many different things that our world has not done a great job at doing. And, God blessed me with the ability to educate and get through to people. And that's what I've been on the path for the last 20 years.
Wow. Did you say there was a time in your life where you were scared to look at your bank account to make sure it wasn't in a negative zero? Is that what you said?
Absolutely. I had many years like that. Very successful. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I owned a computer consulting company prior to this, 6-figure earner, went through a divorce, had, joint custody of my kids. Well, then all of a sudden one day in 2008, I'd already gotten into the financial services industry. I was doing, again, 6 figures a year. I was doing relatively well, but I got full custody of my kids. And some people will say, well, that's fantastic. Well, sure, it's fantastic, but I'm in an industry where I work a lot in the evenings. All of a sudden, the financial well went dry because I needed to take my kids to their dance, to their soccer, to gymnastics, to cheerleading. When you have 5 kids and you're the only person that's financially supporting them, and your ability to work is literally cut by about 70%, my bank account, my savings, everything dried up relatively quickly. And I started having nights of living in quiet desperation. And I woke up one night, I was, the thoughts in my brain, and I was praying to God, and God said to me, what have you been doing for your clients all these years? You need to get back to that. You need to stop being the way that you were. Like many people are, they lose their job or they have something happen as a trauma in their life. They end up going backwards and not realizing that they're going backwards. They're still living at the same level financially. So I was still spending money like I was making it, yet I wasn't bringing it in. So there was times I'd rob Peter to pay Paul. I'd log on to my bank account and it would be an overdraft, and my heart would just be, the feelings that I'd literally have to come downstairs in the morning, get my kids ready, make their lunches, and have to put on a facade. I had to wear a shield to protect them. And I lived that way for many years on that hamster wheel of life and in quiet desperation. So
let me ask you this. Ladies and gentlemen, This is the part of the show where we tell you get out your pen and paper. because Dwight's going to drop some massive wisdom right now. He's a very successful entrepreneur, financial planner, very, very successful in his own right. So definitely get out your pen and paper and take some notes, because Dwight's going to drop some wisdom right here. So let me ask you this. You're going through this, right? I can't imagine being a single father and having custody of your children. And I believe in what you're saying, right? You got to put God, then your business, God, then your children, then your business, right? God, family, then business. So you were doing the right thing. You were taking your children, doing the basketball, doing all the things in the evening activities. When was it that the finally the light came on for you, that it was that shifting point for you, Dwight? Because I want to thank you first of all for being transparent and opening your heart, because I know it's not an easy thing to talk about. But when did the light finally come on for you and you're like, you know what, this is enough's enough, right? No more overdrafts, no more. What happened that light went off in your head?
Oh, like I said, I woke up one night and, and I've been praying to God for answers. And sometimes we pray to God and he gives us answers and we ignore them. And we, we look for other solutions. And the solution was very simple. Do what I had been coaching, what I had been teaching my clients, and start that process again on myself. And part of that process was, what were my goals? Like, yes, my life changed and now I had full custody of my 5 kids, but what had changed in my life? What was I going to do that day? What was the next day? I needed to start dialing it back and making it simple again, and planning out where I wanted to be next week, next month, 6 months from now, and then tied those goals into my financial budget, which I had stopped following, which I teach and coach on, and teaching people how to have a very advanced budget of living so they can live life on purpose. So I basically had to do all those steps again for myself. But the light bulb moment came from God telling me, hey, smarten up. You can't be, I guess, I don't know if the word's right, you can't be a hypocrite. You're out preaching all this stuff, you're helping others, but yet you're not doing it for yourself. You've forgotten the path that I set you on to go out and serve others, to make sure they live life on purpose, stay off the hamster wheel. Now you're back on it yourself. So that was my defining moment. It was God speaking to me, and I just woke up and I started the process of getting, my finances back in order, doing debt roll up because I'd gotten in debt. Took me a couple of years. I got myself out of debt, and just been trucking forward ever since.
Well, I think in your defense, right? I don't think you're a hypocrite. I think so many times we just get in. We're creatures of habit. The bottom line is, all human beings. 21 days, you start forming a habit. 90 days, it becomes a lifestyle. So I don't think for you it was being a hypocrite. It's just the fact that sometimes we get stuck in these ruts, and then next thing you know, we start doing these activities daily, and then they become a habit. It becomes part of our lives. And I think just hearing you say that, I know many people that we have bad habits, right? I'm guilty. I have some bad habits I need to get rid of. And unfortunately, many people, not just Americans, but I would say in Canada, around the world, they have bad spending habits. They have bad money habits. And I truly believe it's because they just don't realize that they're doing it. They're unaware. I did a post today, and I put out there, right, when many times when God's ascending us, we fight it and we don't even realize it, because we're unaware that we're fighting that next level of success, because that we tell ourselves lies like, I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough. All these lies come out as we're going up. Or the good one, right? Imposter syndrome. We don't feel we fit there. But I say this because so many times as things are happening, we're not aware of how we're responding to them, because we're just not conscious enough to do it. So I don't think you were a hypocrite. I just think that, like many other people, just bad habits can sneak up on us
Well,
and we don't
and
even realize them.
circumstances change, right? Because I had a budget that I lived by, but all of a sudden now, when I have the kids full time, and as they're aging, they're getting more and more activities that they do, my budget wasn't accounting for that either, right? So listeners, that's one thing you need to take serious, right? Most people budget with a envelope, and they'll write down some things. I'll sit with clients, but they forget a lot of little things. And I'll say to them, well, okay, why wouldn't you want to put a haircut down there? Well, that's inconsequential. Does it come out of your bank account? Well, yes. Well, it's not inconsequential. That haircut, that oil change, oh, how much he's spending on presents, like even stuff like that, those little nuances that people don't take serious were what caught me, because I wasn't staying on top of it. Right. And like you said, you can have good habits and all of a sudden you get caught in a rut and now bad habits creep in. I got complacent on my business part because I was so focused, not that that's bad, because my core values are faith, family, work. They always have been. But I believe I could have done them better. But it was God that made me aware that I needed to get back to the basics of what is financial planning. What steps do I need to do to live a happy, purposeful life so that my kids and I could both sleep good at night? Because there was times I guarantee they picked up on my stress, and I just thought I was fooling myself thinking that I was hiding it from them.
Yeah, well, no. So let me ask you this: what are two ways? Because I really want our audience to hear this, is because I think many of our listeners, especially now that gas is going higher, inflation is coming up, I think we go into that scarcity mindset. I think that's the wrong approach, right? For me, I think there's an abundance out there. And if gas goes up, okay, well, how can I earn more money, right? Groceries, we went to the grocery store yesterday, Memorial Day here in San Antonio, and it's just like a watermelon that cost $3. Now it's $7.97. So I'm a big believer, right? Okay, well, how can I go out there and earn more money? So as things continue to rise and things are going to continue to escalate as far as pricing goes, what are two things that you really took away in your relationship with money that can help our audience to realize that you can make it through this season, you can come out ahead, you can still have a life of abundance, and you can still live a prosperous life? So what are two things that you implemented for yourself that our audience and our viewers can take away from this?
Well, going to sound like a broken record because I've already brought it up again. One of the two things that, in order for you to live a purposeful life, even as inflation continues to attack us, is know that if you're bringing in $1 and you're spending $1.20, life's going to catch up to you very quickly. You're going to be on that hamster wheel. You're going to live in quiet desperation. So looking at our expenses, I tell people, what are you spending money on a monthly basis? So I get them to write down all their numbers on a budget. And listeners, you need to take this serious, because there's many things on your budget that you're overspending on. You'll have cable, for an example, high-speed internet, cable packages. You don't need 200 channels. Many people, they're trying to keep up to the Joneses next door, or the Smiths, and they have bragging rights. Oh yeah, I have, the biggest cable package. I have the best cell phone bill. But in reality, if you look at it, do you need that? Well, you might only shave off $20 a month off of one bill, $5 off another. All of a sudden, you shave and you correct your expenses and you freed up $100, $200. Well, inflation's going up. That $100, $200 can be used to offset that cost of the watermelon, as Daniel brought up. Maybe you're in debt and you don't know how to get out of debt. Well, now if you free up some money, you can do some debt consolidation strategies that I teach clients for free on how to get out of debt sooner, using just $100. Well, if you aren't not self-aware of how much money you're wasting, maybe you're the type of person that goes out once a week and you take your family out to the movies. Well, going out to the movies is not cheap. Number one, it's not just the movies that you're spending money on, you're spending gas, right? Then you're buying treats at the movies.
But don't you think that's a
right?
scarcity mindset, though, or the lack? Because see, what really helped grow, right, to pay off our house, our other house that we paid it off in 10 years. It's really for us, right? Do you think maybe changing your environment of who you hang around with, right? I believe that you got to change your environment. You got to change your associations.
Oh, of course you do.
Right? Because if you hang
do.
around with people that earn $50,000 a year, and you're probably going to be the fifth one. If you hang around with more successful people, right? The people that right when I got in the automotive industry, I started making over 100,000 easily. Well, then, right, the income grew. So don't you think a lot of times are the monies that we make, maybe a solution would be change your associations, change your environment? Because I think one thing that helped me was to really see that, right, if I wanted to grow my self-image, I needed to grow my self-image to grow my income. And I think that for me, I've never really kept a budget, to be honest with you. So that's why I'm listening to what you're saying. What you're doing is right. You're teaching that. I do believe you got to have some wisdom, but also there's other things that you can do to overcome things that as far as prices going up and things like that. And I would say, would you say that, because you yourself, you've grown so much these past 2 years, and I would say you've changed your environment and your associations, and that's your business has grown because of that. Would you say so?
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. Associations are key, but if you don't have self-awareness of where you are financially, you're not going to attract the right associations. It's a mindset, right? When you actually get your finances, you get your goals of what you want in life. Now you have that awareness that maybe the people that you're around aren't the best type of people. And again, awareness isn't just, being self-aware, or association isn't just people. What are you associating with what you listen to? What are you watching? So now all of a sudden, go back to the budget. You cancel some of your TV. You don't have as much entertainment, where everything isn't as serious in your life, and you start putting your life in priority. So you look at all the knowledge that's in a book, right? Great way to hide it. People don't crack the spine. They don't listen to an audiobook. They don't listen to podcasts. They don't go to conferences or events. Like I just got back from an event in Mexico where, it's life-changing, but I have to make that conscious choice. So you're right, associations are key, but if a person doesn't understand their money, how can they change their associations to go to a conference, to go and buy a book, or realize that they're doing things wrong? So part of my coaching is making them self-aware. It's hard to go through all the steps, obviously, in a short period of time on a podcast, but it all of does, just like Daniel says, it starts at one point and then it evolves into the fact that you must be aware of your associations, or you will fall back. It's hard to stay on track, right? So associations are absolutely key. If you're hanging around with broke-minded people and you're trying to get away from being broke, it's going to be really a struggle. So completely agree, 100%.
I love that what you're saying, and I say that because when I was crazy enough to think I'm going to be a motivational speaker, people laughed at me. But I realized that the environment that I was in wasn't going to help me become the motivational speaker that God put in my heart to be. I realized that the associations in that environment, in some cases, those people, those individuals, weren't going to help me get there. And I think I want you to hear this, ladies and gentlemen, because Dwight's bringing up some amazing wisdom here. But if you don't change the environment of where you live, or if you don't change your environment somehow, maybe it's for you. You don't think you're good enough to go out there and get a better job. Well, guess what? God will qualify you. There's a job out there. There's a career out there that maybe if you take that step of faith, that God opened up that door for you. Maybe it's taking that step of faith. Maybe you've been slacking and you have this idea in your heart and your mind, but you don't see it because you don't believe in yourself. And God's been putting that idea in your heart. What Dwight is saying, when you prioritize, listen to what he said. When you put faith, family, and then the finances, the business, it comes in place. How did that help you, Dwight, when you really thought? Because I want people to understand that, because for you, I've seen a tremendous growth in you. Just the fact of the videos that you do now on Instagram, I love it. Like that wasn't you a year ago, and you're not the same person. So as Dwight's self-image grew, your income grew also, right? Your monies grew, would you say?
Oh yeah, everything grows in your life, all aspects of your life.
Yeah. So what are two things that you did to grow your self-image? Because I think I'm really proud of you, because you're not the same gentleman, right? You're not the same gentleman that you were before, bro. Like you're just not. You speak with more confidence, and I think that's what the viewers need to hear right now and see, is because your self-image grew. And if you have a poor self-image, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to cap your income. That's going to cap your living. That's going to cap the amount of revenue you're going to generate in your business. That's going to cap the amount of money that you're going to make. We were just with some family members here the other day, and I said, the thing is, you're comfortable at making X number of thousands a year, and you're never going to grow above that, because you got to grow your self-image, and you haven't grown it. So what are two things that you did, Dwight, to grow your self-image, to raise that level of income, to be who you are right now? You're an amazing author. What happened? What are two things or three things that you can teach us that you did to grow your self-image?
Well, the first thing that I did to grow my self-image was stop thinking that I couldn't be more than I am. And I also stopped thinking that I needed to do it all on my own. And I started associating, we go back to the associations. I started communicating with somebody, a mutual friend of ours, Tony Watley, and I met him through the Arte Syndicate, and we started communicating, and I felt camped in life. How many of you listening have felt camped in life, where you're stuck? And I had stopped climbing. I was comfortable, but yet I wasn't happy. I wasn't truly happy in my faith with my family. and my work. It was just, I was stuck. And this all happened back in just before the pandemic, before the lockdowns happened. I decided to take a leap of faith. And one of the things that I did to give myself confidence and change my inner being and get, like you said, become better speaker, I started doing videos every day. And as you mentioned, I've done 800 and some videos now daily. I haven't missed since March 1st, 2020. It gave me confidence. It gave me the ability to articulate myself better so that I could get through to people. Because at the end of the day, my story mattered. But if I couldn't become a better speaker, a better person that could articulate what I was trying to get across, my story wouldn't come across. I couldn't touch people's hearts so that they'd know, like, and trust me. So that video process, and then I got challenged to get back into books. Well, I read a lot of things in my financial industry, so I stopped reading books. I stopped cracking the spine. But what I did do, which I'm a very audible person, so I got an Audible account. I started ingesting books constantly instead of listening to the radio or listening to music. And again, I'm not against people that do that, but for me, I needed to change my internal temperature. My internal thermostat needed to go up, and listening to podcasts by people that were successful, that had little nuggets of information, by listening to books that could help me, by all of a sudden doing all those things, I woke up in a more enlightened state. I was more, my gratitude and gratefulness exercises that I was doing for years, all of a sudden picked up the pace. I was feeling more energy. I was feeling more energized, but it all started when I realized that I had been camped, that I needed to climb, and I needed to do whatever it took to get there. And I had to think to myself, what are successful people doing? Well, hey, Tony, what are you doing? Right? And I'd start talking to him, and I got involved in different masterminds on speaking, on writing books, on podcasting. I reached out to anybody and everything. I must have spent 8-10 hours a day on Zoom. Right?
Yeah, but I love what you're saying,
right?
because, ladies and gentlemen, Dwight's dropping massive wisdom. Write this down. Maybe you're camped like he is, like he was. Maybe right now you feel like you're stuck. It's right. We're entering the last 2 quarters of 2022. And maybe you're like Dwight was many years ago, that your bank account's in the red, it's in the negative. But if you keep doing the same thing like we talked about, if you keep living in those bad habits like we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, your life's not going to change. Dwight took a stance. Dwight said, well, I don't really want to read a book, but I can buy an Audible account. When's the last time you invested in yourself and went out there and spent $16 a month just to read an audio book? It's going to change your life. Why wouldn't you do it? And listen to what he said. He invested in himself. He invested thousands of dollars in himself. When's the last time you invested $100 in you, $1,000 in you? You know, so many times, Dwight, what breaks my heart is, especially in my culture, is I see it every time, especially in here in San Antonio. A lot of people love wheels, right? They'll go spend $2,000 on wheels and tires for their car, but they'll never invest that money in themselves. I know many guys that'll go and they love electronics. They'll go buy another $2,000 big screen TV when they already have one, but they don't invest that money in themselves. And what you're saying is you invested in yourself. You went out there, you changed the things you were doing. You changed your life because you changed your habits. You started reading again. Ladies and gentlemen, to change your life, you got to change the daily activities that you do. You have to change your environment like we're talking about. You have to change your associations. These things are going to lead to a bigger self-image. It's going to lead to more revenue, more money that people are going to pay you for your career, for whatever you're doing. The marketplace is going to reward you for that. But you have to grow your self-image. Dwight, let me ask you this. I want you to do me a favor. Because I think people are listening and they see us. They see you on this other side. Well, it's easy for Dwight to say it. He's in the black now, right? He's doing good. I want you to take a minute and really look into the camera and speak a word of encouragement over somebody that maybe their bank account is in the red, because you know how it feels. You've experienced this. Can you give them a word of hope? Speak about a minute or two and just really give them a word of encouragement, because I think somebody needs to hear that today.
Well, being a person that's lived in that quiet desperation, it just so you know, listeners, I've lived there more than once in my life, right? I have. I lived it. I won't get into all the details, but I will tell you, for me, the encouragement I can give you, and if you're not a God-fearing person, if you're somebody that, you just believe in the universe, whatever, bottom line for me, the biggest thing that helped cement me and help uplift me was giving it up to God, praying. And if you're not that type of person, learn just to have acts of gratitude, meaning learn to speak out loud and say, you know what, thank you for waking up, allowing me to wake up today, universe. For me, it's thank you for allowing me to wake up, God. That's the first thing I did this morning before I even get out of bed. I thank him for even something as simple as having a bed, a roof over my head. I have gratitude that I have arms, that I can brush my teeth. That may sound silly, but those little things that you take for granted, so many other people in this planet do not have. So if you learn to appreciate the small things as you advance in life and big things happen, you're going to appreciate things in life on a daily. You're just going to always have joy in your heart. Never take anything you have for granted. Even listening to this podcast, if you're listening to it on a smart device or in your vehicle, you are more blessed than most people on the planet. Have you have gratitude today for the fact that you have technology, that you can listen to a book like I was just talking about, that you can text a loved one, that you can call a loved one, that you can have a video call with them? You need to have massive appreciation for what you have in your life. That's how I kept myself going. And yes, I'm not saying that I haven't slipped, that I haven't gotten to a point where I've camped, but I'll never be there again, because I've become super self-aware that I always need to invest in myself. But it always starts when I wake up, open my eyes, and I thank the God Almighty for allowing me to have another day to be a servant of others. Because the more I serve others, whether it's family, friends, clients, whoever it is, the more I get back. Because just as a side note, I'm an empath. I pick up on people's energy, and the more I give out in a positive light, the more the universe gives back to me with bringing good people into my life, and all the posers and all the people that are negative in my life fall away naturally. Why is that? Because they can't handle the fact that I'm at a place they're not. So they end up leaving. And if they don't, I let them, I kindly get rid of them, because it's so important to associate in the right ways. Hopefully that answers your question.
I love that though. I think people need to hear that. I think so many times we hold on, and I was guilty of this, right? Because I'm a believer in God and Jesus. Christ is my savior, and so many times, right? The Bible teaches us to love people, and I definitely love them. But there's sometimes you outgrow people, and sometimes I was just in New York City, and one of my friends of mine over there, Tommy, he goes, I said, Tommy, how do you deal with people when they leave your church, when they leave your tribe, when they leave your community? We can all relate to one of those, right? Either your tribe, your community, your church. He goes, well, Daniel, he goes, I realized that as my train's going down the track, if people get off my train and I stall my train and I leave my train stalled, he goes, the people at the next station that need me, that are waiting for me, they're never going to get a chance to get on the train because I've stalled it. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, you got to listen to what we're talking about. Sometimes people leave your life because they're just for a season, and that season's over. And maybe you're trying to hold on to relationships that you've outgrown, that have outgrown you, and you're trying to force those friendships. You're trying to force those relationships, and they're not healthy. Listen to what Dwight said. Sometimes you got to let those people just fall off. Not that they're bad, but think about a tree. Every year in a certain season, it's called fall. Why? Because the leaves fall off the tree. What friends, what relationships are you not allowing to fall off? Maybe you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they're abusive and they're verbally abusing you. And that's hindering your finances because they keep telling you you ain't worth the crap. And you keep listening to that every day. That's going to hinder your business. That's going to hinder your finances. So listen to the words of wisdom that Dwight just said. Allow yourself to ascend. Allow yourself to grow. Dwight, I know you have an amazing book. You have a copy of it in front of you, my friend? So yes, Dwight's brand is Give a Heck. I love it. How to live life on a purpose and not on accident. So going with the title, right? I had to ask this question. How does somebody live a life on purpose and not on accident? What's give us one main word of wisdom with that title?
I think one of the things I had just asked to me recently on a podcast would be the fact listening. And then you may say to yourself, well, what does listening have to do with anything? Well, if you don't listen, and it doesn't necessarily mean listen to what people say, if you're not listening to what's going on between your 6 inches in your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, if you're not listening to yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're never going to be able to live a life on purpose if you can't accept and admit that you're at a weak spot in your life. Ask for help. Don't be that person. I was asked this question, at 21 years of age, what was something you'd tell yourself? Well, seek help. Don't think you know it all. Don't be that person, well, I've forgotten more than you know, right? Like I used to have that kind of attitude. So if you need to have self-awareness, it's back to admit to yourself that you're weak and that there's people out there that know more than you, whether you get it from a podcast, a book, or you're on a mastermind, you go to a conference, however it starts. Once it starts, your hunger for wanting to be aware of where you're at and how you're going to change and how you're going to live a life on purpose starts by admitting to yourself that you're not perfect. For me, there was only one perfect person, and that was not anybody on this planet currently alive. I needed to do that. And by doing that and saying, Dwight, you're kind of messed up. You kind of need to change. You need to quit, quit being in that camp where you think you know it all. And once I started realizing that and admitting to myself, and see, my book talks about my story from my origin, from when I was a little boy, sickly, bullied, all the way to where I am up today. By being able to accept my story, listeners, you need to accept your story. Where are you at in your life? Where was your past that got you to there? Not live in the past, use it as a stepping stone to move forward. And that's what I've done for myself. My book has taught many, including myself. It was one of the most cathartic things I did by writing that book. It woke me up. It said, this is your story, but it doesn't have to be your future. It doesn't have to be your present day. This is just a catalyst. And by you sharing this book, it's going to help you continue to grow, and it's going to help others continue to grow. And it's also a magnet. It attracts great people like Daniel and other people into my life that are always uplifting me. And hopefully I'm doing the same for them. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a synergy of a group of people that all started by the principles of me wanting to share my story, being vulnerable. And that started with that book.
Wow. What he just said, ladies and gentlemen, when you grow, your life grows. When you listen, you grow. Your income grows. Your relationships grow. Sometimes I hear people complaining about the people that are around their life. Sometimes I hear business owners or leaders complain about the employees they hire. I'm like, you hired them because leaders stop growing too. I've stopped growing. Last year, I found myself gaining weight. I got comfortable. So let's be honest with ourselves today. We'll use the word that Dwight just used, is camp. If you're camped right now and your bank account's in the red, if your business isn't growing, if your relationships ain't where you want them to be, why? Maybe you're not listening the way you should. Maybe all the signs are all around you. And like Dwight said, I love what you said, Dwight. You're not listening to your heart. You're trying to think too much with your intellect. Well, God speaks to the heart, ladies and gentlemen. And sometimes the answer's right in front of you. You're just too blind to see it. And like Dwight said, because it's not the answer you wanted. Sometimes you got to do those tough things. Sometimes it's not the way we want it. But when we go through that, the true blessings on the other side of that. Man, I love what you just said, Dwight. That's powerful. If somebody wants to get your book, where can we get your book at, Dwight?
You can go two different places. You can go to giveaheck.com, and there's a book portal where it'll give you easy access to ordering it on Amazon. And for those that want to just pay the shipping and handling and get a signed copy, you can go to www.dwightheck.com/give-a-heck. And you can actually go in there, pay the shipping and handling, and I'll ship the book personally out to you anywhere in the world.
So if someone had the chance to ask you one question when it comes, what's your best money advice that you have to give, Dwight? Because you are a money expert. You're a financial planner. What's that one word of wisdom? If someone needed one word of wisdom when it came to money, to finances, however you want to sum it up, what's your best advice that you can give us in reference when it comes to money in general?
The best advice I can give you about money, I guess, would be, I just did a video about it, is the fact that money has no personality. Quit giving it a personality. It is a tool that can be utilized to change your life and change your family and change others' lives. So quit thirsting for money. Quit, always, I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard or change your career or become an entrepreneur if you're not one to, get money, but money is a tool. Keep your life focused on, for me, my core values are faith, family, work. Focus on your belief in life. If that's God, which it is for Daniel and myself, and Jesus, great. Have good family core, right? Make sure your family is a priority. And then you can go after money. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't have those two things in sync, the third one is just an empty hollow. You're going to end up being camped. You may have some temporary spurts of success in your life, but it's never going to stay consistent because you don't have the other two things in your life balanced. Is it possible to have a completely balanced life? Absolutely not. But you can strive to have those three things I mentioned in sync. And then, money is just, again, a tool. Just do what you need to do to be an honest, caring, compassionate person. And I believe money will come to you no matter what. It'll just, like Daniel was saying, you can literally be that person that attracts, more business. Maybe you attract a new job because you're thinking the right way. You're reading the right things. Your associations are there. But never, ever give money a personality. Don't ever be greedy. Always be caring and compassionate, and use money as a tool to support others, and it'll always come back to you tenfold.
Man, I love that. It's ironic you say that because, right, it's something that I just love what you said. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Dwight just said. Money has no personality. It actually takes the identity of its owner, right? If you're loving and giving, it's going to be loving and giving. It's going to be, if you're good people, it's going to be good money. Think about it, right? Think about it whenever you hear in the news, Dwight, or whenever you hear somebody say, well, they just busted X and X, right? Drug bust. Well, it's drug money. They label it drug money because it takes the identity of the individual. So like Dwight just said, money has no personality. Why not you take the bull by the horns, change your association, your relationship with money, and realize that you can use that money that comes into your business to be a blessing to you, but be a blessing to the people around you. Last question for you, Dwight, is what's a quote or a scripture that you rely on in times of adversity? What is a quote or a scripture that you rely on in times of adversity?
Oh, there's so many, actually, to be honest with you. I think one of the things that I rely on is, Les Brown talked about it lots. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. I've been saying that to my children since they were little. They're all adults now. They still remember me saying that. The adversity, getting out of the vehicle, going into a school, going to a sport, being anxious. And I'd say to them, what would dad say to you? No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it.
Boom, baby. I love that. Some good old Les Brown. No matter how bad it gets, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to make it. Why? Daniel and Dwight are pouring into you. Dwight just dropped some massive wisdom. If you want to follow Dwight, how do we get a hold of you, man? If somebody wants to get in contact with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is go to my website at giveaheck.com. That's giveaheck.com. There's portal buttons in there for everything from my coaching to my speaking to my book, everything.
You see your
can
book again.
find it.
Hold up your book again. Now with you, ladies and gentlemen, go get a copy of this book. Give a heck. How to live life on purpose and not by accident. It's an Amazon bestseller, ladies and gentlemen. Go get your copy right now. I love that. Brother, I just want to thank you for joining us. You dropped so much wisdom. And just to recap what Dwight said, ladies and gentlemen, think about this. Think about this. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Dwight was honest. He opened up his heart. His bank account was in the red, but he stepped up as a father. He put his children first, right? Faith, family, and then work. He was going to these things with his daughters, these different gatherings at night when, like he said, a financial planner is supposed to be meeting people in the evening. I get it. But he still made the right decision morally. Are you making the right decisions morally? We're not judging anybody. We're not condemning. But if you want to change your life, you got to change the decisions you're making on a daily. And then what Dwight said he did is right. He invested in himself. He started reading books. He bought an Audible account. If you want to change your life, maybe you're changed today. You're deciding to go to Amazon or get an Audible account for $16 a month. Maybe that's the big shift for you. And then like he said, put yourself in a different environment. We're talking about associations. It's not huge things that change your life. It's the little things. I promise you, go get his book. It's going to change your life. Dwight, man, it was such a great time having you today, brother. Do you have a last word of wisdom before we end this amazing episode with you?
Last word of wisdom that I'd say to everybody listening is always be kind. And that doesn't mean just be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. You're worthy. Everybody on this planet is worthy of happiness, but you need to go out and do what it takes to be happy. And it starts with being kind to yourself and then being kind to others always.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Woo! Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. What an amazing guest. And Mr. Dwight Heck, what a great wisdom he shared with us. We'll see you next week here on another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Until then, go to Amazon, get our new book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. That's The Makings of a Millionaire Mind on Amazon. Or go to our website, themakingsofamillionairemind.com, themakingsofamillionairemind.com. Get your autographed copy and sign up for our course. We have a scholarship available for people that qualify. I promise you our 27 modules will definitely change your life. That's at themakingsofamillionairemind.com. Until next week, we'll see you here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show with another amazing guest. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Woo woo! This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.